Americans up. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe!
Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. What we have here today is something very special and something I am very excited about. This is our G.I. Joe retro card back Scarlett. And in many ways, this is the Scarlett I've been waiting for. I've had the previous Scarletts. I had the first release, I had the second release with the black undersuit. I even have the movie, Snake Eyes movie Scarlett, which I don't know where she's at right now. I can't seem to find her, so unfortunately I don't think I'm going to have her for like comparisons. But this Scarlett right here, this is the one that I've been waiting for. This is the one that I feel like a lot of us have been waiting for. And not necessarily just because it's a retro uniform. Like, to be completely honest, I don't hate the look of this version of Scarlett. I just don't like that face portrait. I don't like the color of her hair. And I have the black bodysuit version of her. It's still in the box. I never took it out. Because when I got the black bodysuit version, even though it muted a lot of these colors and made it look a little more mature, because this is a very, like, that's almost like a teenager looking face. It was still the same face sculpt, and I know they repainted it, but it didn't really work for me. The reason I've been waiting for this, and I think the reason a lot of us have been waiting for this, is because this is more of a no-nonsense, more mature, more experienced, more like seasoned covert ops specialist version of Scarlett. The head sculpt alone makes all the difference in the world, and I can't wait to get her out of the packaging to take a better look at her. Now, to talk about the packaging, this is one of the first wave of the new heavier card stock that we're getting with the retro carded figures. And you can see that it's very much thicker. It's folded over, it's double layered here. Even the plastic clamshell is trapped between the two layers of cardboard. And while like it bends like cardboard does, it doesn't bend like, say, my Storm Shadow version right here, because this is a much thinner stock. We all know the problems with shipping these, getting these from Walmart. Oh yeah, that's another thing. These are no longer Walmart exclusives, thank goodness. But it's just a much flimsier cardboard compared to this. And I really like that because I do keep these retro card figures for the most part in the packaging and kind of display them like this. Also on the back we have something that I have been pining for. All of the retro carded figures come with a file card on the back, and while the file card is not nearly as extensive as the vintage version is, because they have to print it in multiple languages, I do appreciate having the file card here again. Real name, Shanna M. O'Hara, role, counterintelligence, primary military specialty, intelligence, secondary military specialty, classified. Birthplace, Atlanta, Georgia. A martial arts expert who started practicing at age 9, Scarlett graduated summa cum laude from 2 Ivy League universities and went on to excel in training courses at all 4 branches of the armed forces. I love having these again. And also on the back here, we have the cross-sell for the other figures that came out with this wave of retro-carded figures. We have Classic Duke, we have Classic Recondo. More than likely, I'm going to get both of these just to have them as part of the collection. Duke I'll probably get first. Once again, I don't hate the original version of Duke, so I don't really feel a need to get this one. And the Tiger Force version of Recondo is so much better than this like sort of boring tan, like Dusty's dad look he has going on. I never liked this version of Recondo. I always liked the Tiger Force version better. And also up front, we can see that she comes with a lot of accessories, a lot of kibble, and of course the figure stand. Hasbro, you can start putting these in the standard classified figures any day now. She even comes with an extra set of fists. So, without further ado, let's get this open and let's take a look at Hasbro G.I. Joe series retro carded Scarlett. And remember, if you want one of your own, you can get her at Entertainment Earth. Entertainment Earth is your one-stop shop for all toys, clothing, collectibles, and more. Get the newest from Hasbro, Mattel, Bandai, and Super 7, as well as exclusives that can't be found anywhere else. With over 25 years in the business, Entertainment Earth has what you want. Click the link in the description below. Okay, here she is, Scarlett, out of the packaging, and putting the tape measure to her, we can see that she is approximately 5 7/8 to the top of her head, which still puts her on the short side. I was really hoping this version of Scarlett was going to be a little bit taller. But you also may be wondering, Mac, you just said you keep all of these figures in the packaging on the wall displayed like that. Why did you go ahead and open up Scarlett? I bought 2. So as soon as we saw Glenda come out for the Dragonfly, we knew we were going to get this version of Scarlett. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that we got her as fast as we did. I wasn't sure if we were going to have to wait for Glenda first, or if Scarlett was going to come out as some sort of multi-pack, like maybe a retro wave multi-pack with her, Stalker, and Snake Eyes. I don't know. I was just surprised that we got her as fast as we did. Grateful, but surprised. And taking a look at her, like, this, once again, is pretty much the vintage figure all grown up. And I know some people have issue with that when it comes to the classified line, but when you're coming to the retro card version, like, that's the whole point of it. That, like, you get that figure that you had when you were a kid in a 6-inch scale figure. Keep in mind, these officially aren't even part of the classified series. They don't have numbers. They're not included with the set. This is a sort of like a different run in and of itself. So you'll notice she doesn't even have like the Joe Pro that like the Joes typically have. This is just like a retro version of Scarlett, and I dig the coloring. I like the look of it. I even like that they added this shoulder pad right in here. I really love this face sculpt. Like I said, with the other Scarletts, that was one of my biggest issues. Maybe not the movie Scarlett so much as the first 2 classified versions of Scarlett, that this head sculpt is leagues above this one right here. And it's not that there's anything wrong with this. This is still a very capable, a very well done face sculpt. But it's not Scarlett, and it's way too young. This is a much, much better version. The hair is a more realistic color. She has like a neutral look, but it's also, I mean, business kind of look. I love, like, her eyes. Her eyes are even very intense right there. I really love the look of this. This is just, it's kind of Barbie. And I think that's kind of what put me off to it. Whereas this is more realistic. I know I'm saying that about an action figure, but even like the hair tone is a much deeper red, looks like a more natural red or an auburn. You have a little bit of a black wash in there to make the highlights stand out. I really like that. And then you come down to the rest of the body, and it's not nearly as slight as this one is too. Like, you can tell that underneath this uniform, like, there's muscle underneath there because she's gone through training. Where this, once again, it's just so frail looking. Like, if this wasn't Scarlett, I think I would like it. But like, if this being our Scarlett, I rarely even put her out on the shelf. This one is definitely going out there. I really like the look of this. You even have like the little compartments down here in the boots. I love that they put the shuriken on the outside of this glove. But I also love that they included this little hideaway right here on the inside of her glove. I loved that as a kid. I love that now. I think there's like virtually no detail to it, but I don't care. That little 1-shot or maybe even a 2-shot right there, or is that one of those 4-shot deals? I don't know, but I really dig it. Then she has like her flashbang up here, zippers, her quiver for her bolts right there, and the whole thing just looks so good. Her ponytail also, she has 2 versions of this ponytail that we'll take a look at that whenever we look at accessories. But if you pop the ponytail off, you get an even more retro look to it because you don't have to put the ponytail in there. And now she has that short-haired bob that like her original figure, her vintage figure had, because her vintage figure didn't have the ponytail. It was just cut off hair. And like, that is an even more retro vintage look right there. But let's pop this back on. That just has a very gummy peg that goes in there, and you can turn the ponytail to pose it, which we will take a look at, like I said, once we get a look at the accessories. But for now, let's look at the articulation of the figure in general, that her head can do a full 360 spin. She can look up to there. She can look down to there. She has some tilt side to side. Arms will do a full 360 spin. Butterfly joint. Double jointed elbows with some really great travel. Bicep swivel. Wrists pivot. Wrists hinge up and down. Now, both of her hands on this version are trigger hands, and she does have a pair of fists, and those hinge in and out, and we'll take a look at the fists on her in a moment. But we also have this ab cut right here where that can do a full 360 spin. She can get some lean back. She can get some decent lean forward. She can go side to side. She has a ball joint at the waist that will do a full 360 spin and will give you a little bit more lean back, a little bit more lean forward. Not much side to side. That's really there just for the spin movement. Drop down legs that will come up to there, forward, back, out to the side, tuck them back up in there. We have a thigh cut, double jointed knees, and it's worth mentioning that the articulation on her, the knee and elbow joints, whereas I've been finding a lot of the pinless figures have had really tight joints, hers flow very well. Boot cut, ankles rock back, ankles rock way forward. And we have a forward-facing pin for some rocker. And something else that's worth talking about is that on the vintage figure, she was basically wearing cowboy boots. And at the time, I thought that was funny. Not funny, but at the time, because of her being, Scarlett, coming from the South, I thought the cowboy boots were a nice touch. On this, they're more of like a flat combat boot style. She doesn't have those big heels, and I appreciate that as well, because I really hate whenever they put like the female figures in like combat wedges or boots or something like that. And G.I.Joe has been pretty good about keeping the female figures in just like combat boots or flat-footed. Now, out of the packaging, Scarlett comes with a pair of trigger hands, and she also comes with a pair of clenched fists. Now, as far as accessories go, the first thing we're going to take a look at is her crossbow. One, because it's probably her most iconic accessory, and two, it's kind of the one I'm disappointed in the most. First of all, why do the crossbows always have to come in pieces? Like, her crossbows always seem to come in multiple pieces. It can't just be one piece. Putting that little peg right there at the front is very awkward. This will tend to twist and turn. Why couldn't you just make this one piece? Also, when I first pulled this out and when I looked at it in the packaging, I thought this was supposed to be a scope. I thought this might be one of those scopes that like come up and flip over and flip back for whenever she's reloading or something, but it's not. I don't know if you can see the detail on it since it's like an all black piece of plastic, but it basically looks like a CO2 canister of some kind. Also, you can see, a track in the top of the crossbow right there. That is because she comes with multiple crossbow bolts, and this is going to be hard to focus on. She comes with multiple crossbow bolts, and you can see there is a broadhead and there is fletching on it. And those bolts actually snap into that track right there, so she can have a loaded crossbow. I like that, but the other problem with this is that the other accessories that we'll take a look at, she comes with the G.I.Joe, I think it's like an MX-1 laser rifle, and a AR-15 that are pretty hefty weapons, and they have larger hand grips, that the hand grip on this crossbow is so small that it's very loose in her hand. Like, she doesn't get a good grip on it. Like, she's not going to drop it, but you can see, like, it wobbles around a lot. She doesn't get a nice tight grip on it, which is kind of a bummer when you're talking about, like, her most iconic weapon, that for as small as it is, she can't, like, one-hand it and, like, hold it out straight. You got to get her into a two-handed pose, and you can see that, like, there we go, that front piece started twisting again. Why do they keep screwing up her crossbow? Why can't they just give her a crossbow? Because to be completely honest, right now, arguably, the one that's come with the best crossbow is Beachhead, and this is his. And a repainted version of this or something like this would have been perfect for her. That's all she needed. And it fits in her hand really well. So, I don't know. That's kind of annoying. Now, she does have her bolt quiver down here on the side as well. So let's pop this bolt out. Let's get rid of the crossbow. We'll take a look at that later, and then again in a moment. But you can see there's slots for her crossbow bolts. Be gentle with it. It is a bit of a tight fit, and the bolts are very thin, so they might start bending. And she comes with 4 of them, and they fit in there very well. Let me get these in here. Oh, see, by the time you get to the 3rd one, it's a little bit of a tight fit. That tucks in there, because keep in mind, all of these are being angled down into a narrower enclosure. Now, the 4th one is kind of like a gimmick bolt, that it has like this clawed end right here, like it's supposed to stick into a wall so that she can like winch herself up by it or something. So it doesn't fit into her quiver, her hip quiver. Normally, you kind of, to get it in there, I've been putting it in fletching first, and then it like sort of sticks out more on its own. That's kind of a bummer. I would have almost rather they just gave us 4 regular bolts and didn't give us this gimmick one. Also, I wish that the quiver would hang more off the back instead of off the side. I feel like it gets in the way here. Now, you can spin it because the belt is very loose and rubbery. But check this out. There's actually a peg hole right there, because there is a peg. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you. There is a peg on the inside of her belt right there. You see that? So that it helps to hold position. But if you loosen it, you can turn it. You can put like the bullets up front, and then she can have the quiver sort of just hanging off the back right here, which I actually like better, because then it also gets out of the way of her hands. And when we get her backpack on, it doesn't really get in the way of the backpack either. And I don't know, I think this just looks better. I think this cuts a better silhouette. It gets it out of the way. And I like that. And speaking of her backpack, here we come to another accessory of hers, which is her backpack. And I really like the detail on it. They do a really good job at detail work on these packs, especially with like the web gear here, all of the like the side pouches and everything, and just really making it look like these packs are packed and there's actually stuff in there. They're not just like a solid mold. You can see wrinkles and everything in there. Now, this does fit very well on her back, but here's the thing. You take off her ponytail to get the backpack on, and then the backpack is curved to go with her shoulder blades and the arch of her back, and it makes a really nice seal. And see what I mean? Like, it doesn't get in the way of the quiver, or rather the quiver doesn't get in the way of it, so everything can be hanging off of the back right here. You'll notice I took off the ponytail because the straight ponytail will not fit over the backpack. That is where we come into our action ponytail right here. That there is a nice curve to this, that you can either put this on her and sort of have it coming off of the side for like action poses, but also you can pop this on. Let's get that on there. And it basically, just like to the best of its ability, can conform to the pack. She still has a little bit of a forward head tilt with that though. But that's how you can get her backpack on with her ponytail in place with this version of it, that it can just sort of drape over the pack. It's not the best fit. It's not the tightest fit. Actually, the movie Scarlett that we've had, and once again, I really wish I knew where she was so I could keep bringing her out, but like, it has a ponytail that is very soft and pliable, and you can just sort of like mold it around the backpack. I almost wish they would have done that with this, but I do like having like the action ponytail for like, you know, some action shots, like if she's doing any jumps or anything like that. But I do dig that, and then that can fit on there. Whoops, sorry, that can fit on there like that. Like a lot of classified figures, Scarlett comes with a knife, and there is a little bit of a shine to the blade. It's not silver, it's kind of like a yellowish, greenish metal, but it is, or paint rather, but it is shinier than what the handle is like it's some sort of treated blade so that it doesn't rust or anything. And that fits easily into the hip sheath that she has right there. She also comes with 2 rifles, and the first one we're going to take a look at is this one right here. And I think this was back in the day called like an MX-1 laser rifle. This originally came with Snow Job, and it also became the weapon of choice for the Joes in the G.I. Joe cartoon, in the Sunbow cartoon. And they did a really decent job of making this giving like a newer look to it, a more updated, a larger look to it. It is still very much that laser rifle, but you have a little bit more detail, like the stock back here. It's larger so we can get more detail on the side of the weapon as well. I was never a fan of this, even before I saw the cartoon. Like, I didn't like the idea of Snow Job having a laser, because to me that kind of took something away from characters like Flash and Grand Slam and Sci-Fi. So I always use this as like some sort of like prototype machine gun or something like that. Now, she can hold this. It looks good in her hand, like most of the weapons are going to look. But you see what I mean, that whenever she grips it, she has a much tighter and much more secure grip on this than she had on her crossbow. And you can just see the difference in the handles. Whoops. You can see the difference in the handles between the rifle and the crossbow. Now, you may have also noticed that when I put the backpack on her, that there are these 2 pegs sticking off the side. And we know what this is. We've seen Hasbro do this before with the Joes, that you can take this and just sort of peg the rifle on there, and that will secure it, and that will carry it for her, sort of like it's slung on the side of the pack. Now, like I said, we've seen this before. However, the issue with this is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but like the square block, the peg is a little too big, that it's actually putting stress on the trigger guard. You can even see it like right above my fingernail right there. You can see it whitening already from the stress of it, that this peg on both sides, I feel, is just a little too big. And I'm really worried that if I keep putting this on there, eventually that trigger guard is going to rip. Now, the other accessory that she comes with is this AR-15. I think this is an AR-15. I can't honestly tell the difference if this is an AR-15 or if this is an M4. Either way, I like that she came with this, because in the comics, she rarely used the crossbow in the comics. In the comics, she was most of the time toting around a M16. It was either an M16 or a suppressed Uzi, like what Snake Eyes had. But a lot of times she was using the M16, and I like that they updated her and they gave her like a real weapon to use in a real, armed forces kind of way. Once again, really good detail on this. The color, this is one instance where like I would have been fine if they would have done this in black, just because of it being a more realistic, real world weapon. I also like that the magazine comes out right there and you can pop the magazine back in. I'm not thrilled that it's like a clip style, like a tab right here, because a lot of the magazines they've put out to date have just been like solid magazines that fit up into the weapon. But because of how thin this is, it looks like they had to sort of cheat it. Once again, she has a really good grip on it, but also once again, when you put it on the backpack on this side, you can see it's stressing the trigger guard again. And that just makes me nervous. Like, I dig that she can carry both of these on her back. I think that looks cool. But I really worry that those pegs that are too big are eventually, this needs to turn, are eventually going to rip the plastic of those trigger guards. And you can see now why the belt peg's in. It keeps moving around on me every time I pick her up. Now, another weapon that she comes with is this pistol, and we've seen this pistol sculpt before. I do like the two-tone paint job where like the action is a little bit of a different color or a darker color than the rest of the pistol. And I like that she has a pistol because, once again, in the comics, she used a pistol a lot. However, there's no place to holster this on her, which is really disappointing because usually these Joe figures, even the retro carded ones, can usually have all of their gear on them. Like, she can still hold this and pose her, but there's like no holster like in the backpack, or like they could have taken this little piece off right here, this little nothing piece, and replaced that with a holster on this hip so she would be able to holster her sidearm. But as it stands right now, there's no way to put this on this. Also, something you may have noticed, that while she has both of her rifles on there, there's no place to put the crossbow. There's no place to sling this crossbow so that she can carry that as well. Pretty much the two rifles that she comes with take up all of the space. Now, like I said, I don't like how these pegs stretch the trigger guards, and I'm not going to be using this rifle. So what we can do is we can get rid of that, and let me take this one off as well. And if you're going to use the backpack, you can see that there is like gappage in the stock right here, that even though I don't think it's meant to do this, you can put the crossbow, peg it onto the side of her backpack, and it will hang down and for the most part stay out of her way. And it doesn't stress this plastic. Plus, this is also much more gummy plastic than what was on the rifles. But it doesn't stretch this plastic so that you can at least have the crossbow hanging off of her backpack while she's carrying the AR-15. Still, once again, there's no place to put the pistol, because even if you take it off and try to peg it in right here, the peg is way too big for the pistol trigger guard. Whoop, I'm sorry, it keeps going out of focus. Is way too big for the pistol trigger guard. So that's not going to be worth anything either. I don't get why she doesn't have a holster for this. And like all the retro carded figures, Scarlett comes with her figure stand with the G.I.Joe star on top and two pegs on the stand. So just a few other things to go over as far as the accessories go. And this next one, I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but this is Clutch's helmet, Clutch from the Vamp. He's not wearing it because he's wearing his Steel Brigade helmet right now, but something that I noticed that you can do is the helmets that come with the G.I. Joe figures now, they fit on Scarlett. Like I said, this is Clutch's helmet, and with the way that her hair fills out, the helmet fits on Scarlett. It also has this cutout in the back that it conforms around the ponytail. So I don't know if this was done on purpose so that you could like kit out Scarlett with a helmet if you wanted to, but I think it's cool that she can wear these helmets. I'm assuming she can wear the other ones like for Grunt or Rock and Roll or something. I haven't tried any of the other ones yet. This was the first one that I had on hand. And something else that's kind of annoying about her crossbow. This is the crossbow. This is like that spiked meat tenderizer grapple bolt that she comes with. So we have a crossbow in two pieces right here, and the fletching fits in, and then you snap it in like you do the other bolt that I showed you. But look, the arrowhead doesn't clear the foot guard right here. So this specialized bolt that she has doesn't really fit in unless you sort of like bring it forward a little, and then it doesn't look right or even clip in nearly as well as it should. So that's another kind of annoying big miss for her crossbow. And now for size comparison, here she is beside Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Cobra Island Baroness and the first wave version of Scarlett. And looking at Scarlett over here, they're both basically the same size height-wise, but I feel like the retro card version has better proportions, is filled out better, just looks more realistic versus the original release of her. And once again, going back to it, I love that face sculpt so much better that when you look at her beside Baroness, Baroness still, you know, is, I think, the tallest female in the line. I actually haven't opened up my Crimson Strike Force Baroness yet to see if they're the same size. But that aside, you figure that this version of Baroness and this version of Scarlett both came out at roughly the same time. Both of them were part of like the first wave or two waves of figures. One was a Target exclusive, one was not. But just look at the difference in face sculpt between those two figures that came out at roughly the same time. That face sculpt on the first Scarlett was the biggest miss they made with that figure. Here she is beside Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Snake Eyes and Lady J. Here she is beside Hasbro Marvel Legends Hand Ninja and Elektra. Here she is beside Valaverse Action Force Desert Rat and Pandora. Here she is beside Mattel Masterverse 40th Anniversary He-Man and Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor. And finally, here she is beside NECA Toys Dungeons & Dragons Warduke and Grimsword. This may be the Scarlett I've been waiting for. I don't know. The only thing that might take its place is if maybe Mezco comes out with a 1/12 Scarlett along with their G.I. Joe line. I don't know. I got the 1/12 Snake Eyes. I still have to open that up and take a look at it. But this version of Scarlett, I think, is the version that I've been waiting for. I really like the figure. I really like the face sculpt. I really like the paint apps. Everything about the figure I really like. The accessories is where I feel like the big miss is coming from. Because that crossbow, why do they have to keep like trying to gimmick her crossbow? Why does the crossbow come in 2 pieces? Why couldn't it just be like a solid rifle stock crossbow? Also, giving it that specialty bolt that doesn't really fit into the quiver and doesn't really fit onto the crossbow, that's kind of an eye raiser too. Why bother with something like that? I like that she has the AR-15. I don't even really hate that she comes with the laser rifle. I get that's going to be a big nostalgia tug. I understand the popularity of the cartoon, even though I didn't like it. So I get that like some people are going to be like really jazzed that they get another laser rifle for the collection. That's fine. What I don't like is how those backpack pegs stress the trigger guards to the point that I'm really worried that over time those are going to rip. Also, the pistol. How can you give her a pistol but not give her a holster for it? You could have holstered it. If you're worried about the quiver blocking a holster on her right thigh, you could have put the holster for the pistol on the left thigh and then made the dagger like a boot dagger, or just put a sheath across the... You could have just put the sheath in the crossbow bolt case, in the quiver. You could have just put the sheath in the quiver and then like that could have pulled double duty. I don't know, the accessories feel like a big miss. The ones that I'm really happy she has are the extra fists, the AR-15, the backpack is cool, and the ability to swap ponytails. Those are the ones that I think are really good with this figure. The coloring, though, I kind of wish it was more of like a black and or like a gunmetal gray for it. The olive drab for all of her accessories, for her backpack, the rifles, the pistol, not a big fan of. They could have all been black, just like with the crossbow. There's no doubt in my mind that this is going to be a very popular Scarlett. There's no doubt in my mind that a lot of people are going to be snagging this one up. I also realize there's going to be a lot of people that don't really care about this. There's probably going to be a lot of people that don't really care about this video because they have no connection to this Scarlett. They probably have some of the previous Scarletts, or they've third-partied, kit bashed a Scarlett together, whatever. I understand that some people aren't going to be into this because they may not have a connection to this version of Scarlett, or they may not want more of the same. They may want something different, because I know there is that faction of the collector fan base right now that gets upset when it's an exact copy of the vintage figure. And with the classified line, I can appreciate that. But with these retro carded figures, that's pretty much what you're getting when you're buying the figure. I won't be surprised, though, if we get another version of her in this uniform. Whether they use this for her to make like a Tiger Force or a Night Force version of her, or if they just give her like maybe a black undersuit. Once again, I can't remember what comic that was from, if that was from Image or IDW, where they decked her out in like a black undersuit rather than this sort of like greenish, grayish black that she has going on here. Playing with this figure, unboxing this figure, getting my hands on this figure, it's really making me excited for Glenda, which is really making me excited for the Dragonfly. I know we probably have until maybe the end of the year, like fall, winter, before we get the Dragonfly, but I'm really looking forward to that. So let me know what you think. Are you down with this version of Scarlett? Do you not care about the retro version of Scarlett? How do you feel about the Scarletts we've been getting? Because I feel like those have been some of the biggest misses in the collection up until now. So comment down below, and while you're down there, do all of the YouTube things. Like, share, subscribe, check me out on Coffee, and until next time, my friends, play well. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.